Hello, EKN Nation, and welcome to another edition of the Industry Insider here on the EKN Radio Network. This is episode number 25, Tuesday, June the 18th. Hello, folks. My name is Rob Howden. Great to be here once again and to pump out more content for the EKN Radio Network. We're thrilled for all of those of you who have downloaded the EKN Radio Network app to your mobile device. The best way to, of course, listen to the content that we're pushing out here on EKN Radio for the first time. As always, we push it out first on EKN Radio Network app, or you can go to ecardinews.com/radio. After that, we end up putting it into podcast form. You can download that to iTunes and Google Play. Episode number 25 of the Industry Insider, and I'm pleased to have Greg Dingess, the general manager of Margay Racing, joining us here. And it's been a busy couple of weeks, and we'll continue to be busy throughout the summer and into the fall for everyone at Margay. But let's start by welcoming Greg onto the broadcast. Greg, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Appreciate you having me.
The Margay program is something that I think is one of the big positives that's going on right now in the sport of karting. Greg, we'll talk a little bit about it, about the Margay Ignite program. We're going to talk about the Battle of the Brickyard that's coming up. We'll talk about the Quincy Grand Prix that you guys just wrapped up, and we'll cap off this podcast with a kind of a deep dive into the new technical aspects of the 2019 Brava product line. Greg, let's first start talking about the Margay Ignite program, because to be honest, you guys have people that race your Margay karts outside of the walls of the Ignite program. But one of the big focuses you guys are working on right now is this spec Margay Ignite package, running the K3 for senior and masters, the K2 chassis for juniors. This thing has absolutely exploded.
Yeah, it's a great program. Obviously, we have a long history in racing and at the high level as well. I mean, just out my window, I'm looking at 13 WK manufacturers trophies. So we have a long history there, but it seemed like the sort of beginner side or the entry level of the sport was being underserved. And so Keith kind of came up with this program that took what Briggs was already doing with the engine and kind of extended it through the chassis and the tires as well. And we've come up with this program that makes it really easy for brand new people to get involved in the sport. And I think it's being received well, because a lot of new people are getting involved all around the Midwest and beyond. So it's been a great program for us, been a great program for new people. You can tell a culture difference in the sport when you get inside our tent with these new people and see kind of the big time they're having. So we're super happy with it. We're excited to expand, and I think it's going really well so far.
Yeah, the cool thing, to give a bit of an overview, of course, on this Margay Ignite spec program is the fact that, obviously the Briggs LO206 engine was this amazing power plant that came out. Briggs said, hey, we're going to seal this thing. We're going to make it really easy. It's going to be cheap. It's going to be turnkey out of the box. You guys take that power plant, and we all talked about trying to come up with this package that could be below $4,000. And a couple of years ago when this thing started, it was right around $39.95. It's just over top of that now. We're talking a spec Margay chassis. You came up with a fantastic chassis with limited adjustability, but still enough to be able to dial the kart in. You put the Briggs on it, the spec Briggs. You have all spec parts. You guys are now with Hoosier as a distributor for Hoosier Kart Sport, which is amazing. So you got this package, this all-American package, Margay chassis, Briggs engine, Hoosier tires. That's the spec package. And the cool thing is, Greg, and I'll let you talk about it a little bit, it's a spec package. So any track around the country can add the Margay Ignite class, whether it's junior, senior, master, whatever it may be. They can add that to their club structure. And then you guys turn around, and through Margay, you guys have lined up events like the Battle at the Brickyard, like Quincy Grand Prix. You do it at the Rock Island Grand Prix, where they've added the class, but you guys also bring the whole Margay tent program. And for a super cheap price, somebody can fly in from California, from the Pacific Northwest, from wherever, Northeast, and tent with you guys on a complete arrive and drive program on that spec level playing field. That's the numbers you guys are seeing at some of these races. We'll talk more about, of course, Quincy and Battle of the Brickyard, but you guys are launching like 30, 40 plus everywhere you go. Even, WK Kart Week. You guys, the tent program as well has been amazing.
Yeah, sort of to unpack where you started there, the chassis side of it is spec, and we run a really tight rules package. And I think that kind of continuity helps new racers' mind be a little more at ease, that they can focus on developing their skills and learning how to work on their equipment without sort of fear of new product kind of being rolled out where there would be sort of like a performance advantage. There's no sort of, there won't be a new engine. There won't be a new set of wheel. There's nothing that's going to change in the rules. The continuity over the 5-year period, apart from the switch from obviously Bridgestone to Hoosier, has remained unchanged. The weights have remained the same. Everything has remained the same. And I think, as we know, sort of the karting industry has a lack of continuity across regions, and this program helps us expand into other regions where people can sort of cross-regional race. They can go to different clubs without even having to change weight. I mean, really, they're just changing the fuel that they put in the kart. So that's been really important. I think that's part of the reason it's so successful.
Man, isn't that the beauty of it? How many conversations have you been in? How many conversations have I been in when people complain about the fact that, they race in California in one spec, they can't go somewhere else and race that chassis because either the engine specs are different, whether it was a Yamaha having different engine specs, different pipes, the tires are one thing, like you say, but to be able to have that continuity and to have people be able to race inter-club, interstate, whatever it may be. Greg, throw Canada in as well, right? You look at Charlotte Lalonde coming up from Canada. She's a Margay driver up in Ottawa. She comes down and wins at the Battle at the Brickyard. The fact that people can come from all over, from different countries as well. I think that is just so crucial right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think people are attracted to the idea of sort of a uniform sort of rule set. It's very similar to how IROC was in NASCAR, and
wow, yeah.
And it's just in karting, because this is hobby money. This is expendable income. People don't want to spend money just to stay in the same place they're at. They don't want to. If the rules change and disc clutches are allowed, everyone will spend $400 on a disc clutch just to run in the same place they were before. So
that's so true.
Yeah. I think we've seen Keith saw an issue with the way it was being done, and I mean, quite frankly, we just did something about it. And again, it's for new people. I mean, there's so many overwhelming factors when getting involved in this sport, sadly, and the industry's done it to ourselves. And I think that this program helps sort of limit that stuff, so that when somebody calls and wants to get involved, the question isn't necessarily, I mean, eventually the goal would be that the question wouldn't be sort of where you live or how much money you want to spend. It's just binary that this is where you start. When you call wanting to get into karting, bam, you start in an Ignite kart and you go racing. And by the way, you can race at cool places like Daytona and Brickyard and, Quincy Park and all these historic races and racetracks that you can race a go-kart there. I mean, this year we've run at Circuit of the Americas, we've run at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Daytona International Speedway. There's no other series in racing that can say that, so, and we're just out here playing with go-karts. So I think it's a huge attraction to people to get to race at places they've always wanted to, on packages that they know they can't be outspent sort of to win on.
Speaking today with Greg Dingess from Margay Racing, the general manager at Margay, Industry Insider episode number 25. One of the things, Greg, we have always talked about, and Keith Freeber and I have talked about it over the 25 years I've known him, it's about removing that barrier of entry, right? It's keeping the cost down so that someone can actually be involved. The lower price you guys have for a turnkey package in the Margay Ignite program then turns around to having an even more affordable use package if somebody wants to get an Ignite, which I love. The barrier of entry is not just money, though. It's also technical knowledge. And you mentioned that. That's the key, right? Anybody can come in here. You don't need to know a lot about the technical side of the sport to jump into this, because you're not going to get out clutched or out tired. I mean, it's the setup is there's a certain window of setup that you can play with. But for the most part, the Margay Ignite program really focuses on the experience, having fun, and really the driver being able to hustle the kart around.
Yeah, I think so. We spent a lot of time on the Ignite kart, albeit a spec kart. It's not like we didn't just develop something and put it on track. We spent a lot of time with a few different models trying to make sure that it was going to be user friendly. That wouldn't hand the customer a puzzle and they had to figure it out themselves in terms of like how to go fast in it. So most of the races that you see won at the big level. Jeff just last weekend, and obviously Evan being super fast all the time. Those guys are running on standard setups. I mean, it's not a puzzle. We've developed a chassis that, like you say, is very wide. We can put it in the hands of the user and they have a package to win straight away. It's not sort of you spend $4,000, then if you really want to win, you have to, buy these extra camber pills or anything
That's right.
crazy like
Yep.
that. You
Yep.
right from 4,000, you can win the race. And I think, that coupled with the sort of spec nature of the program is really helpful in selling it to people that are maybe on the fence of racing, that don't want to get involved because they don't want to get thrown in the rabbit hole of money. And they can just get right out and go straight to win and have confidence in that package.
Well, the foundation of the sport, that grassroots level, I think is most key. When we talk about the pyramid of karting, I know a lot of the focus goes on that top of the pyramid, the kind of 3, 4, 5% of the sports participation, which is probably about 90% of the money that gets spent. But that's not the sport. The sport itself is truly that big, wide bottom base, the foundation of the pyramid, which is club racing. And then, of course, you move it to regional racing. Now, you guys, what you're doing is helping to really inject a lot of excitement into the foundation of the sport. Let's talk a little bit about the kind of growth of the Margay program, the Ignite program. Obviously, the flagship series at Gateway Kartplex. The great part about that is they have their rental kart program and rental racing there. You guys pull guys out of the rental program into the full-on Ignite deal, which is amazing. But it's really starting to expand as well, which I think is great. And I'll let you talk about it. There's a new program at the new karting circuit at the Audubon Country Club in Joliet, Illinois. 61 Kartway in Iowa's added the program. TNT Kartway across the river, in West Quincy. The Midstate Kart Club as well. A new program coming in Hastings. Talk a little bit about the growth in some of these programs where the Margay Ignite is coming in and is really establishing the baseline for like a club like Audubon. It's a straight Ignite series.
Yeah, the program itself it started at Gateway Kartplex. We were very lucky as Keith was coming up with this idea. Curtis Francois had just taken over the Gateway Motorsports Park and was committed to sort of rebuilding it as a premier racing facility, and that included a go-kart track, which he was very happy to let us help sort of design. He was very dependent on our experience, and then thank the good Lord, he got Keith Scharf in there to help sort of manage everything, because I don't know that anybody could do it the way quite that Keith Scharf has done it. So a lot of pieces fell into place at the same time, which made it very easy for us to sort of be able to use that track as a test bed for our program. And we, straight from the beginning, there's kinks you got to work out, and we've been able to sort of hone it in over the last 5 years. And as we've continued to develop and it's starting to grow somewhat exponentially, other tracks in the area have taken notice, and our racers at Gateway wanted to travel around as well. And again, I mean, when the only variable in going to other tracks is simply going to other tracks, it becomes a lot more enticing for people to do so. So you don't have to change weight or tires or slides in the carburetor, or you change the rear gear occasionally and get fuel from a different station. I mean, it honestly just doesn't get any easier than that. And I think that has been attractive to other tracks as well. And they've seen the growth that we've seen here, where maybe their clubs they're wanting to see some growth, specifically in the 206 section. And they've kind of adopted those as well. We've got great partners at each one of those. I mean, honestly, Mike Long at Hastings and Tony Nielsen up at 61. I mean, karting can't be done the way that it's being done without great people at the helm. And thankfully we've partnered with some of those people to make that stuff happen.
Let's talk about the new opportunity as well. I know it's kind of really in its infant stages right now, down at the Motorsports Ranch in Crescent, Texas. A great facility down there. They've actually we've seen stuff on Facebook and social media. They've actually built a kart track there. They've got the asphalt down. I think they're probably a little bit of time away from being able to get racing on it right now, but they've jumped on board. As you said, you guys were able to perfect the program at Gateway. So it's essentially kind of a turnkey deal that you guys can bring to the table. They've already bought a bunch of Margay Ignite chassis. You're going to have essentially a Margay Ignite outpost down in Crescent, Texas at Motorsports Ranch as well.
Yeah, they very similar to Audubon in sort of the way their facility worked. It was a country club for big cars and spec Miatas and all kinds of just various racing industries. And they wanted something that they could just go beat up on the kart track. Really, I mean, it was similar to how Audubon started, in that they wanted something that maybe was a little less intensive and that they could just easily get out and get on track, have some fun with their buddies, and then pull it in, and very little maintenance next time to just pull the rope and go. So Todd Opperman reached out to us a couple months ago now, and on the way back from their Mid-Ohio race at the IMSA race, because they run a GT3 team, they picked up some karts and off they went. I mean, they've added quite a few karts to their arsenal, and they continue to go. And they're going to have a really awesome series when that track's done. That track is amazing.
Isn't that awesome? It's one of the things we love. And people talk about the sport of karting and is it growing? Where are we? The funny thing is there are some areas, obviously, that you guys maybe aren't aggressively involved in. We don't see Margay at the SCUSA Pro Tour. You guys focus more on regional and club racing right now. But the amazing thing, we're seeing these new tracks come up. Like these new tracks will pop up everywhere. We don't even hear about them, and all of a sudden a track is built somewhere. Like, we had no idea the track was being built in Biloxi. There's tracks being built all over the place. Then you get this all of a sudden, guys I know at Motorsports Ranch are taking pictures of a new kart track at my Motorsports Ranch and the country club. And it's just, I love seeing these new tracks come up, and I'm thrilled when a program like yours, which is so focused on growing that foundation, that's a positive. That's a huge positive in my mind.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons dirt biking is so successful is because you can run 100 miles down the highway and pass sort of 4 tracks, and karting is in desperate need of that. And not even, obviously these tracks we mentioned are world-class facilities, and it doesn't, not to say that it has to be that, it just has to be something. And there are a lot of tracks around the country that are run by some crazy invested volunteers. I mean, most of them are clubs, and they run off volunteers, and because of them and because of those tracks is the reason that sort of this grassroots or lower level of this pyramid that you're talking about, that's the only way it's going to grow, is if we have a great program, but we don't have a track. It has to be sort of infused at these tracks. And it's because of these sort of volunteers that decide to do a thankless job that these kind of things can grow. So it's like you say, it's great that new tracks are popping up and the existing ones need to stick around as well.
Yeah, we've had David Cole and I have had conversations about that. A track like at Adkins or whatever it may be. Some of the older tracks that have been around since the 70s. The cool thing is those tracks, of course, were never made for the top level 125 shifters and the high end tag stuff we have these days. But they're absolutely perfect for badass 4-cycle racing, spec 4-cycle racing program. Whether it's just straight 206 or the Margay Ignite program, you guys play so well there. Now, here's one thing let's cap off the Margay Ignite program. And I think it's so cool. You have the spec package. You developed into a bunch of different areas. You got a lot of more tracks signing on. Folks, if you're listening to the podcast, we'll make sure that Greg provides his information. If you have a track, you want to add this Margay Ignite program, which is just turnkey and easy to bring people into the sport. One of the things you've done now, Greg, now that you're able to have enough tracks in your area, kind of around the St. Louis area in the Midwest, you guys then were able to roll out the 2019 Ignite Challenge, right? You go to some of these tracks that have signed up with you guys who are building their own club. And all of a sudden, as you said, your guys at Gateway want to start traveling to other tracks. Guys at Autobahn are going to want to start traveling to other tracks. Let's talk a little bit about the 2019 Ignite Challenge.
Yeah, it's quite a fun little series that we've put together for our Ignite racers. Some people that are more local, it helps encourage them to get into sort of the next level of competition and regional competition, but it also sort of encourages homebodies at their existing tracks to get out and see some of the other tracks. And again, the only sort of variable in that is which gas station you get fuel from. So it makes it really easy for people that race sort of all 12 races at Gateway to get out and see other places, or vice versa. Same with Autobahn or 61 or any of the places that run the program. So these handful of tracks we travel to once a year, and we run a regional point series that we award. I mean, we have a real banquet at the end of the year, just like anything. And the emphasis, similar to the Ignite local level, is to make sure the competitors have a fast, fun, and fair racing environment to compete in at the regional level.
And I'm going to go through the remainder of the schedule here in a couple of seconds if people could potentially want to come out, get themselves a Margay Ignite chassis and come racing. But I think you brought it up there. Really, the spec program, ease of usage, get people into the sport, go racing, lower the barrier of entry. But, really one of the bottom lines in this thing, and it's something that I think is taken out of the sport in so many levels and so many programs. Greg, really, your mandate is about having fun, exactly. Right? It's going go-kart racing and having fun.
Well, yeah, go-kart racing and fun should not be mutually exclusive. Those terms are synonyms,
I know, but isn't that what we're dealing with sometimes? It's people, people need to have fun. You guys are all about that, right? You guys want people to have a good, safe time going racing and having fun. That's the key, right?
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I mean, people are more inclined to continue in a sport, because it is an expensive sport,
Yeah.
and people are more inclined to spend that expendable income on racing if they're having a big time. And at the high levels of racing, that's pretty exclusive to winning. But at our levels of racing, that's, we're just trying to have a big time with a bunch of friends out on track.
I love that mandate. Again, the 2019 Ignite Challenge, the first round was rained out. Second round already in the books. Rounds, was supposed to be 5 and 6, which is essentially now rounds 3 and 4. This coming weekend, actually, folks, June the 22nd at 61 Cartway in Iowa. Rounds then would be 5 and 6, July 27th at the Audubon Country Club. Greg, when I'm done with the schedule, you can talk a little bit briefly about that, because I know they're doing a lot of work at Audubon to kind of up the track, right? They're putting a new track in, I think.
Oh man, it's silly. That place is
I want to talk about that in a second. And then the season capping up back at the flagship, the home track at Gateway Carplex on October the 12th. That'll be round 7 and 8. Let's talk. Yeah, let's wrap up this initial segment here with a brief talk about the Audubon. I haven't seen really any pictures yet, but I've seen drawings, and man, I've been on the big track before at Audubon. What a fantastic facility! But they're really investing some money into what will be a great karting facility there as well.
Yeah, they have. Audubon, if you've never been, is a really special place. There are amazing cars everywhere. There's a great big track. A lot of people have garages on site. It's just a really amazing place. And they've had a kart track for a long time, something similar, to a rental kart style track where they had rental karts and you could bring your buddies out or host corporate events for their members. So they've decided that they want to go a little more invested in the karting side, and we've had the program there for probably 3 years with Kyle and the guys at Audubon, and they're taking it serious now. They've repaved the entire track. They've had an addition added on that has a ton of elevation and a lot of technicality that we've seen. They've hired on Alan Bertignoli to help run the place. And so they're putting a lot of money in. They've got world-class LED lights. Like, this is a legit Tier 1 karting facility now. We were there.
I love it.
We were there June 1st for their sort of grand opening for their members, and it was great. I mean, the track really was great. I had a chance to drive it. It's really technical. They've used a skid pad in the past when Route 66 or USPKS have visited. And honestly, the way the layout is now, I don't think they would even have to do that anymore. They could run the race just on the regular track. And Alan and Kyle and Craig and all those guys at Audubon have done an amazing job making that facility a Tier 1 level facility. I mean, it really is incredible.
Yeah. That's exciting. Again, like I said, we love hearing new facilities come out, because new tracks mean new people into the sport, which again then just strengthens the whole sport of karting. All right, folks, that's our first segment wrapped up. We got lots more to talk about with Greg. We're going to chat about the Quincy Grand Prix next up, so stay with us. Greg Dingess from Margay Racing joining us here on the EKN Radio Network. After this break, we're talking Quincy and we're talking Battle at the Brickyard. For over 25 years, Superkarts USA has been changing the face of American karting. The debut of the SCUSA Pro Moto Tour in 1999 totally transformed national-level karting in the U.S., and now the current Pro Tour is enjoying its unprecedented 10th season of competition. The SCUSA Pro Tour is the longest-running coast-to-coast national series in the sport. Nothing else has come close in the last 30 years. The Pro Tour is exciting, hardcore racing, but the foundation of Superkarts USA is its regional programs, and we welcome all racers to come experience our style of events. Our flagship region is the California Pro Kart Challenge, a 6-weekend series that races from April to September from Fontana to Monterey. The Texas Pro Kart Challenge is in its 8th season and is in the middle of an exciting 6-race, 3-weekend schedule that takes drivers to Denton, Amarillo, and Houston. And new for 2019 is the return of the Great Lakes Pro Kart Challenge, where SCUSA was born and raised. The series features 4 weekends at Newcastle, Norway, and Road America. We'd love to have you experience our product, and we hope to see you at a future Superkarts USA event. To learn more, head to superkartsusa.com. Cometic Gasket is a leading worldwide supplier of gaskets and engine sealing solutions for karting, automotive performance, power sports, original equipment, and the remanufactured engine industries. Kinetic karting gaskets are available as OE replacement top-end kits or as individual gaskets and seals. Just like competitive karters, Kinetic can operate on the fly and has a unique capability to customize any gasket to meet specific engine requirements and clearances. All of Kinetic's fiber materials are asbestos-free and do not require any additional sealants. Viton oil ring cylinder head seals are used in each 2-cycle kit, and Kinetic's 4-cycle engine kits feature only the most advanced multi-layer steel head gaskets. Kinetic can tailor to engine builder-specific needs through bulk ordering and packaging flexibility. Kinetic gaskets are must-haves for championship-winning teams across multiple disciplines of both professional and amateur motorsports. Kinetic gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
For over a century, Briggs & Stratton has had a commitment and passion for racing. It's a DNA found in every engine we build today. So whether you kart race, Baja, race quarter midgets, or believe that dirt and snow are just God's way of adding to the challenge, the dedicated spirit of every Briggs & Stratton employee stands at the fence waiting for the green flag to drop. Briggs & Stratton Racing. What powers you?
Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, episode number 25 of the Industry Insider. And joining me today, the General Manager and Operations Director at Margay Racing, Greg Dingess. Greg and I actually had a chance to do some racing a couple of years ago when I ran a Margay at the Rock Island Grand Prix. I think it was my last year at Rock Island before I ended up having to take off and tend to my road to Indy duties Labor Day, now out in Portland. Greg, we tried to get this thing in the books yesterday on Monday, and I know how busy Mondays are for you guys. Of course, coming off just a couple of weeks ago at the Quincy Grand Prix, I guess just over a week ago, the Quincy Grand Prix revival, obviously something huge for Margay. I wrote a morning coffee column that's on the site right now about the fact that Keith Freber convinced me when I was working for National Kart News to come to the event when I was a young Canadian journalist, and I got a chance to see the park, you know, in actually a pretty good time in its career in the mid to late 90s. Of course, Terry Trader bringing it back last year, the revival bringing almost 300, almost 300 entries, over 300 this year, I believe, in total. Now, it's a big weekend for karting. It's a big weekend for karting in the Midwest. Of course, the fans come out, the people love it in Quincy, but it's really a massive weekend and undertaking for Margay as well. It's got to be part of the DNA of everybody at Margay, is it not?
Yeah, Quincy Park is a storied piece of Margay's past. I mean, anybody that's ever been driven for us and been really talented has stepped in the seat and done well at Quincy. And Quincy's no joke to race at. I mean, it's a serious racetrack. If you've won at Quincy, you've done something. And back from the Scott Pruitt days all the way to Pistol Pete, I mean, there's been a lot of really good racers that we've been fortunate enough to have sort of drive for us. And it's quite close to home for us. Quincy is only about an hour and a half away from our shop. And it's been really good to see that place come back. It's been even better to see the work Terry and the fans, the city of Quincy support that place. We've had a really good 2 years there. And it's definitely my favorite event and my favorite trophy.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about the Margay Ignite category there and the other classes. You know, how many guys were there running in the Ignite category, and how many overall in terms of Margay racing do you think you had?
Between senior and masters, we probably had just under 40 sort of entries between the two of them. The Saturday sprints, I think we had 33 competitors on track, which is really exciting for us. I mean, that's a good sized class on a track like Quincy, especially considering the skill gap, because you've got all kinds of guys racing against other. You've got people that have won races like Mike Dittmer and Jeff Dolian, and then you've got new guys relatively to the sport like Ken Cook. And so you've got a lot of varying competition level. There's definitely somebody to race with always in one of our classes. It's not all elite. It's not all beginner. There's a good mix. So we were pretty happy with the entries that we had there, and we look forward to carrying that momentum to Brickyard.
Yeah, it seems like Terry Trader and the crew, you know, he obviously has a fantastic group of volunteers that help out there. The track, they made major steps on the revival year last year in terms of adding safety to the track. They did even more this year with more barriers, with more hay bales, more fencing, and I love what they're doing at Quincy. You mentioned it though, you don't really have much time, right? This weekend, back at it with the Ignite Challenge event at 61 Cartway. Well, we're just a couple of weeks away from the USAC karting battle at the Brickyard. at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I know I'm absolutely super excited to be able to finally jump on board one of these Ignites. David Cole's had all the fun with you guys at Rock Island. I can't wait to race with you guys at Brickyard. But let's talk numbers there, because seriously, Greg, last year, I want to say there was over 50 drivers in the 206 senior class. I think that was at the Briggs, the Ignite 206 senior. That's just unbelievable to me.
That's pretty.
Talk about the numbers.
Exciting that those carts come around sort of long right-hander after they've taken the green flag, and you get to see. It just seems like the line never stops. I mean, it just keeps on going. And that event, I mean, easy sell teachers because you don't know how car height is. It's a great place for new people, for people. Everyone wants to go to Indy. The numbers that we've seen there are huge. I mean, it's definitely our biggest event of the year. I think the tent that we use for that event to house all our racers is up somewhere near 10,000 square feet. It's a massive sort of project for us. It's our biggest race of the year, and it's consequently a lot of our favorites. I mean, it's a favorite of the racers for sure, and most of our staff are Indy guys. And it's just, I mean, who doesn't want to go to Indy to work, to drive? It doesn't matter. I mean, you're at Indy.
Well, you mentioned it earlier in the podcast, talking about the fact that the Margay Ignite program taking its drivers to Daytona, of course, run there within the walls of the Daytona International Speedway during WK Kart Week. Then you add the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Here's like two of the most iconic tracks in all of North America, and you guys are there running with the Ignite program. What do the numbers look like for this year?
Well, I think numbers this year will be good. Very much the same and a little bit more, especially because now we have Ignite Junior running as well. This is the first year that Ignite Junior won, and the entries there are looking pretty good as well. We'll definitely break the 50 mark in the senior class, and then we're hoping to be somewhere in the mid-30s. I mean, the good thing about this event is it attracts people from all over the world. Last year and this year, we'll have people from Canada, New Zealand, Australia. We have lots of people coming for this race because, again, it's Indianapolis.
And that's really what it's come down to. The whole Ignite program, people can come in from anywhere, know that they're going to come in. They get a baseline, they get a setup, they get a cart. They're totally supported, but it's that level playing field. They know they're going to come in, they're going to learn the racetrack, and they get to experience the event without the cost of having to ship their stuff, where especially the guys, like you said, coming in from New Zealand, they're able to fly in and rent a cart from you guys, be part of your Arrive and Drive program.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's not a $10,000 sort of Vegas package that has place in the market for sure. But for $1,700, basically, you can have somebody work on your equipment. You can have a brand new go-kart delivered to the track and race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for 3 days. I mean, racing, there is not a more affordable package in racing than that. And to say that, you don't have to have any experience with the package or tuning on the package because it's a spec package. You don't need to know that, well, this guy knows that those wheels are fast or that clutch is fast. It's just, you come racing. I mean, it's just supposed to be fun after all.
That's it. So again, folks, the Battle of the Brickyard coming up July the 5th, 6th, and 7th, I believe. Of course, the Margay Ignite program, also a huge part of what will be the 25th running of the Rock Island Grand Prix this coming Labor Day weekend. One more quick break here in the podcast, folks. When we get back with Greg Dingess, we're going to talk about the new Brava models, not just the Ignite program, but the chassis that they have, the Brava 206, the Brava 100, and the Brava 125, these Focus chassis that will be perfect if you're running in the KA 100 class, if you're running an X30 junior, senior, master, whatever it may be. We'll talk a little more about the Margay models for 2019 after this break. If the dream is IndyCar, set your target on the road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. Our ladder system is designed to take drivers through 3 rungs of competition. The first step is the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship, which features a carbon tub Tatis chassis, 180 horsepower, and paddle shift sequential gearbox. Boost the USF 2000's output to 280 horsepower for the newly named Indy Pro 2000 program, the second rung of the road to Indy, formerly known as Pro Mazda. Add in increased grip and aero downforce, and the Tatis PM18 becomes an incredible racing machine. The final step before IndyCar is the Indy Lights Championship presented by Cooper Tires. The Dallara IL15 boasts a whopping 450 horsepower. This car itself has helped train a third of the grid expected for the 2019 IndyCar Series. At all 3 levels, you race at premier venues on the same dance card as IndyCar. Showcase your skills under the watchful eyes of IndyCar scouts and owners. The program is unprecedented around the world, offering the opportunity to climb the ladder with over $2 million in scholarships to the champions in USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, and Indy Lights. Former karters fill the roster of Road to Indy graduates in IndyCar, like Spencer Pigot, Zach Beach, Jack Harvey, Ed Jones, Matthias Leist, Felix Rosenquist, Colton Herta, and 2018 Indy Lights champion Pato O'Ward. Recent graduates like Kyle Kirkwood are in the middle of their journeys right now as well. Follow in their footsteps. If you want to race IndyCar, there's only one choice. The Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. As a world leader in personal racing safety products with a sales and service staff and dealer network unmatched in motorsports, Simpson Performance Products is now the official North American distributor for Stilo helmets. In addition to their wildly popular auto racing helmets, Stilo is extremely excited to have made their move into the karting community with a pair of stellar options. Stilo has two helmets designed and manufactured specifically for karting: the Stilo ST5 CMR 2016 for kids, and the Stilo ST5 Kart Snell K 2015 adult karting helmet. The company's karting helmets are directly derived from Stilo's auto racing helmets that are so popular at the top levels of racing. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, as well as Stilo's lightweight construction and unparalleled field of vision, a crucial attribute for karting. For more information on Stilo, check them out at simpsonperformanceproducts.com/Stilo or by following them on social media at Stilo USA.
The United States Pro Kart Series is fresh off its biggest event ever at GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. The top teams in North America brought their best drivers to fill the paddock once again, and everyone challenged for their share of the $80,000 season prize package. With a final chance to bring the A game in a few weeks, rounds 5 and 6 at Newcastle Motorsports Park are sure to be a barn burner. Whether you are looking for a slice of the cash prize package in X30 Pro and X30 Pro Junior, or just looking to race against stacked fields of the best drivers in the country, now is the time to put the USPKS Hoosier State GP on your calendar for July 26th through 28th. Be on hand when the best of the best take home the spoils of victory as the weekend is capped off by the 2019 Championship Awards ceremony. IAME Finals tickets, USPKS Winners Circle, and IAME Engines and Products are all up for grabs in Newcastle, along with cash prizes, MG tires, and more. Move up to karting. Move up to USPKS.
Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, folks. This is Rob Howden, Industry Insider number 25, Tuesday, June the 18th. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Greg Dingess from Margay Racing, the general manager over in St. Louis. Greg, let's cap things off and talk about the development of the 2019 model lineup. You guys have obviously done a lot of work on the Ignite K2 and K1 for the junior and senior drivers. You know, that spec package, that nice tuning window, just a cart that's really fun and easy to drive. Then you guys, of course, have your models that are maybe have a little more upgrades, a couple more, more adjustability in the front. You bring the sniper pills in or whatever you guys are using now to the front of the go-kart. Let's talk a little bit about the 2019 lineup. Let's start with the Brava 206, the new chassis for Four Cycle Racing.
Yeah, well, like I said at the beginning, our sort of desire to be competitive has remained the same throughout our history. So we've got the big trophies outside our shop here to help motivate us. And although the Ignite program is a spec program and we're guaranteed to win the class, we still want to go big level racing and win those races. And that's become more of an interest in ours in the last couple of years, I think, as the sort of Ignite crowd has transitioned into a higher level of racing. So we've spent a lot of time in the last couple of years developing our sort of premier level go-karts, our Brava series, specifically the Brava 206. Basically, the Brava line is a all bells and whistles, high adjustability, high performance line. High performance brakes, linear caster camber system, welded on seat struts. I mean, everything that you sort of need to help make sure that you can compete at the top level. That's not to say the Ignite cart isn't competitive. We've seen it be competitive. It's qualified pole at Daytona in the open class, but the Brava line just gives you that extra bit of adjustability to compete in sort of the soft tire, high grip situation. So between our Brava sort of 100 cart and the Brava 206 cart, we're really pleased with the performance we've seen. Obviously, Spike Kohlbecker and Evan Stommer have had a lot of success on the 2-cycle carts, and then we're starting to see a lot of success in that new sort of 2019 Brava 206 as well.
Yeah, I was at the Texas Pro Kart Challenge opener back in March down in Denton, Texas, at North Texas Kartway, and in rolls Jeff Dolian. Rolls out the brand new 2019 Brava 206 and proceeds to essentially sweep the weekend. He was absolutely, well, he only ran the one day, but he was absolutely unbelievably quick. And again, out of the box, he just said it was just so easy to drive, which is great.
Yeah, it took a lot to get him off the old cart that he's had, the sort of cart we've had in the past. And
I love it.
Basically, he, Jeff's a good listener. So just, dude, get on the go-kart. I promise that you'll be good. And he got on that thing, and it seems like he's been winning ever since. He's enjoyed the chassis. He's kind of mimicked what you were saying. It's got a very wide setup window. So if you miss a bit, on the setup, you can still be competitive. It's not quite as detrimental.
Can we talk a bit about the development of the chassis? Who do you have? Like, do you get behind the wheel? I know that you do, but who else gets behind the wheel when you're designing chassis like this?
Well, it starts with us, yeah. So we have, thankfully, Gateway Motorsports Park is only 10 minutes from our shop, and we have a garage on site there. So it's really easy for us to sort of get on track and test our equipment. So it starts off with myself, kind of Keith and John Strom. Maybe you've heard of him.
Good old John Strom.
Yeah, getting in go-karts and seeing how we feel. And then once we feel we've got a package that, we're ready to take to somebody that's way better than us, like Evan Stommer or Gage Rucker, we put it in their hands. In the past, we've had Spike here local. We've got a lot of good drivers here locally that help us out with that stuff once we get to that stage. And thankfully, in the summer months here, it gets quite grippy because that's generally the conditions you want to test that stuff in. And so we've got a big crop of guys around. And anytime you say, does anybody want to drive this go-kart, it's pretty easy to find people.
Yeah, they're all standing around with their suit on, ready to go. But interesting that you bring up the name John Strom, because I've been around now for 25 years, and it was those, when you talk Brava, right? The Brava 1, I think, was 1997 or 96 or 97, I believe, was the first, probably 96, I think, the first Brava 1. Brought out, of course, to run even Formula A. Back then when Keith was focused on some of the Formula A stuff as well as the club stuff. Like, it's been an unwavering support for grassroots racing with Margay. But that first Bravo 1 that rolled out, and I remember guys like Jonathan Strom and Tofi Stewart, guys jumping behind the wheel. Mike Doty was actually a driver as well, and you just go through the names, Alan Rudolph, of guys that have run Margays early on, and it's interesting to hear that Jonathan, I know that he was away from the sport for a bit. He's come back with his son, I believe, and I love the full circle story that he's back potentially doing a bit of testing, because he was doing a lot of testing in those early days as well in the Bravo 1. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like the Brava 1 you're talking about is right out my window. We have one in the showroom with the John Strom decals, and it's the best color purple you've ever seen. But it is exciting to see guys like that back, and I think the sport has a lot of those guys, those kind of sort of halo drivers from back then coming back with their generation of kids now trying to get back in the sport. And he works here on a daily basis, and he's become quite a close friend, and I try to learn as much as I can from him.
That's awesome. Now, okay, let's cap off this podcast, Greg. Let's look forward into Margay. Obviously, you got a great product lined up for 2019. You're winning races all over the place in the other categories outside of the Margay Ignite program. You're winning races, as we said. Jeff Doley and guys winning at the park. Mm-hmm. You guys are going to be battling for race wins outside the Ignite program at the Brickyard, at Rock Island, other major events around the country. What's the focus? What is your focus right now? Is the idea, is there a lot of input coming in for the Ignite program to potentially set up new dealers around the country, or not so much dealers, but new tracks around the country? Oh yeah.
We've got some new tracks. I don't know that I'm ready to say just yet, but in Indiana and Ohio that are very interested in the Ignite program. And ultimately it's not a invite only program. Anybody that, wants to see growth at their track, I can show you the numbers that we've seen here in the Midwest. It's just relatively undeniable. The 206 package coupled with a spec tire is the way to go to get new people in. I mean, if you want growth at your track, this is the program you need. So if there's anybody that sort of is the new sort of president at a club or owns a track or is interested in building a track, talk to us about this Ignite program and we'll get you off the ground.
Greg, at the very least, I would say this. Every president of any karting club in North America would be wise to, at the very least, still call you guys so they know what's going on, right? Educate themselves on the program and kind of come up to speed with the success story that you guys have seen first at Gateway and now expanding to so many different racetracks around the Midwest. And then, as we've talked about already, into Texas.
Yeah, I think so. We're racers too. We've raced for a long time. We've been a part of the industry for 20 something years, just myself. And this isn't a shell game. This isn't we're not insurance salesmen. This really does work. It does get new people involved. So if you're a track looking for new people, this is the way to go.
All right, then let's give them the information. If they do want to get a hold of you, you can roll out your email address. Of course, you can give them the phone number, and then I believe it's www.margay.com, correct?
Correct, margay.com. You can call us anytime. It's 314-771-4242, or you can email me directly at Greg, Greg, at margay.com.
Greg, I'd love to be able to get back to Rock Island one time because you and I had a pretty good little run there. You on the wrenches, and we qualified second in the 206 Masters class. I really thought that I was going to be able to have a shot at the race win until I found out that Tony Nielsen was driving and coming. And I think he was just turned 30, right? Cherry picker.
Cherry picker.
We had a good time though. He and I were fast. That was a lot of fun. We had a good time there. It was super quick. I know that we had the gearing to run out front, but man, it was not easy at the start of that Le Mans start. We got eaten up pretty good, but yeah, I got back to second, ended up finishing fourth, but it was a lot of fun working with you. I really appreciate that. That was a lot of fun that weekend.
Yeah, good weekend. Yeah,
we're gonna do it again though at the Battle of the Brickyard. I probably won't get as much as good a service as I got that weekend from you, though, right?
Oh, come on now.
No, I'm just saying I don't think that you will be working on my go-kart like you did at Rock Island, because the bottom line is you are going to be busy with however many people you guys have under the tent there.
Yeah, we'll make sure we got a pro spinning wrenches for you.
Maybe Mike Birdsell.
There you go.
He's a veteran, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Greg, I really appreciate you taking the time here on a Tuesday morning to talk with me. I know things are firing up there at the shop, but again, thank you so much for chatting with us about Margay. I'm just so excited about the Margay Ignite program. I just think it's such a cool thing for the sport. And you guys are a success story right now. Over and above, with the karts themselves, the history of Margay, all the championships you guys have won in the Man Cup. You say you got the championship trophies there, the manufacturers' trophies. But this Margay Ignite program, I know it's, it was kind of Keith's baby, this little project thing that he built off of, and then, springboarding from Gateway. But man, this thing is just such a success story right now.
Yeah, we're really happy with it. Yeah, I mean, it's what karting is needed, and I think that shows in the numbers. And I appreciate you and David taking the time and having us on to talk about it.
Thanks, Greg. I do appreciate it. Folks, this is Greg Dingess from Margay Racing, the general manager, busy guy, of course, coming off that huge weekend at the Quincy Grand Prix. They got a race this weekend at 61 Kartway for the Margay Ignite Challenge. From there, they look forward to the Battle at the Brickyard, the USAC karting event at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you have not looked into the Margay Ignite program or any of the Margay chassis, I would suggest you do so. Margay.com. They got a brand new lineup, as we talked about, for 2019. But the Margay Ignite program just bringing so many people into the sport, and it's all about having fun. Great to have Greg Dingess on the broadcast with us here on this Industry Insider episode number 25. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in here to the EKN Radio Network. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.